What's going on, boys? Thanks to our patrons and Fiverr customers. Subscribe to our Patreon free to stay in the loop. Arm yourselves, life stuff. We have quite a few topics today. I'm sure we will not get to all of them, but we'll see what we can do. In the background of this time is a game called Aberration Analyst. I'll link it in the description. It's a small game, a simple game, paranormal detective game. It's thematic, or fits the theme of this video. I'd like to make a review at some point, because right now, this game has only 3 reviews, but it's pretty solid. It's not super complicated, not super long, but very interesting proof of concept, and it comes from a nifty developer. To begin, I thought a bit more about the meme transmission idea we were talking about yesterday. 2 additional sides of this that came to mind. The first one, I think much of what we do as a species is the equivalent of looking at sheet music and thinking that is music. Totally. As in, sheet music is all music is. When in reality, sheet music is just a part of music overall, and in this form, it is a restricted form designed to make transmission easier. So if someone hands you sheet music, you don't have the entire song, but you could, if you knew how to read it properly and play it, and were inclined to play it. I think most human communication, most human thought, is the equivalent of receiving sheet music, calling it music, and then using the paper with the funny symbols on it as a fan without understanding what you're actually holding, what it actually is, what you're actually supposed to do with it, how to translate this restricted form into a fuller form. And then the second side, we were talking about birds yesterday. That got me thinking about parrots. A parrot can learn human phrases. And maybe that parrot is smart enough to understand how to deploy certain phrases to get certain results, but they don't understand the language. Nonetheless, they can carry those phrases forward as they are, spoken as they are, without understanding that language. And birds, I don't remember which species of birds, it's probably a few, maybe it was a crow thing, I don't remember, it was from one of the intelligent or more intelligent birds. They aren't born, or these birds are not born knowing certain songs the way other birds are. Instead, they hand these songs down. So again, theoretically, these birds, or these parrots, could pass down these human phrases, with future generations having no idea that these, quote, songs are something else. That these songs are not songs, they are phrases spoken by a now extinct higher consciousness species, now carried and parroted literally by a lower consciousness species. And my point in bringing up these 2 sides is, among all the human communication static, I'm wondering if there is actually sheet music or quotes birdsong in all of the fluff. Or in other words, are we potentially carrying very important information in a restricted form that we don't even perceive as more important, and even if we do, we don't know how to do anything with it? It certainly feels that way. And this relates to a magical topic or a magic experience I had actually a month ago now, Jesus. It relates in the sense some information, while appearing no different from any other point in the static, feels distinct and probably is. In a way we won't be able to understand, but perhaps can detect on our level. Like we were talking about yesterday. Maybe the bird is smart enough to recognize the computer monitor is something distinct from other objects, but it still doesn't fit its frame of reference the way it would a human's. Now, yesterday we also mentioned lesbian spiritualism and trans magic working. And for a while now, we have been trying to figure out what the deal with transgenderism is, cautiously, like a bomb rigged to explode. Now, a couple times we have discussed the, if this is like an archaeology Stellaris ass Lovecraftian horror dig site event, level 1 on the surface, we've discussed that a couple times. And on that level, all we go to is something else is happening here. I'm not on the pull the plug side of the argument, because something is going on here that needs to be investigated. But I'm also not on the wholesale support side, or even majority support side, for true but not hyper specific reasons. Those reasons given typically being there is a lot of static in that sphere. There's probably some sleight of hand going on, muddying the waters so one group of people pays attention to the wrong things and another group of people is dismissive. In doing so, hiding the important shit going on. And I think there is important shit going on. It's just buried so deep in Tabasco manure, you don't want to try to figure it out. And that's the first level. And again, those reasons are true. They are what I believe, but they aren't as refined. And to get into part of what we're talking about today, we do need to get a little bit deeper into the earth. So on this second level, it's not just muddy water. It's repulsive most of the time, but not some of the time, and not in any way that is easy to track. That's another reason I think something important is going on here. And part of what makes that tracking or those distinctions so difficult has to be something about spirit expression. In my investigations, there's no consistent metric that can measure whether or not that repulsion will come in. Like, you'll hear XX or XY passing being the metric, but that's not the case, at least in my experience. You can have one person on one hand who is totally whatever passing, and that repulsion will still kick in. And it will kick in even if you don't know that they're trans, because they're passing so well. You still instantly feel that repulsion. Then, on the other hand, you can have someone who is not passing at all, very obvious what path in life they're walking, and you don't feel that repulsion. This would appear to be the worst case scenario, yet everything fits. These people are the reason you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. However, they are also the reason you won't see me championing the trans cause, even on a medium level. This is on the smallest level imaginable, because something is not tracking in most other cases, and it's not just a matter of something not lining up, there's something not lining up bad here. I'm thinking the entire trans experience is some kind of soul alchemy experiment going on. There's power here to be cultivated, but as a species, either we haven't figured out how to do this in a sophisticated way yet, or we've forgotten it. And one of the little rules you should always remember is you do not play with heavy magic if you don't know what you're doing. It'll fuck you up really badly very quickly. And I'm wondering if that's where the general repulsion comes from. In a bid to obscure the project, you've roped in a bunch of people playing with magic they're unequipped to deal with. You've taken someone who has an anxious breakdown over trying to figure out how to tie their shoes and placed them at the edge of a contested frontier. So now let's get a little more specific. Maybe not necessarily going down another level, but refining where we are right now. On one hand, you have the allied gender core. We used the term space monkeys yesterday, Fight Club. I've been hanging on to that, and I meant to use it for allied trans people. And I think that's the first time I've ever made an audible grimace. And I grimace because this is tricky. The first soap was made from the ashes of heroes. I want to help and understand what they're up to, because on some level they have cracked a spirit code. This is another tricky one. We often talk about the way gender roles, the social constructions, are more like responsibility roles that became gendered according to biological proficiency, but at their core are not gendered. They are just things that need to be done to ensure survival. And today, these roles serve... well, they don't really serve. They are restrictions. They limit your capacities and capabilities even deeper and more involuntarily than you're aware of. We mentioned a few videos ago the idea conditioning goes a lot deeper and hooks you a lot harder than people are comfortable admitting. This would be another example of that. However, souls are a different story. I'm of the mind masculine and feminine souls are fundamentally different. The difficulty is determining the power implications of that, and then how to use those implications best. That's one of the reasons the lesbian superior is important and the lesbian inferior is not. One is just a woman who likes women. The other is a woman-coded woman walking around with what feels like a male soul. You've seen women who try to act like one of the guys, or dudes will say, "Oh, she's just like a dude." And like, it's kind of pathetic. It's kind of embarrassing. It's not the case. But then you meet a woman who looks like a woman, does womanly things, acts like a woman, in the womany sense, but she's giving off male vibes with, or they're coming out of nowhere. That's what I'm talking about. That's the confusing shit. This isn't just nothing. This is soul magic. And I think the trans question, somewhere buried in there, has the answers, or at least more clues. However, the issue I'm running into with these allied auxiliaries is I don't even know where to begin. If I try to help, very little is going to get accomplished because I don't know what I'm doing. But if anything goes wrong, it is a big problem. Because I think certain forces don't want people figuring out what's here. So you'll get attacked, or you'll get stuck supporting a bunch of people you don't want to support. But it's difficult to distinguish or separate the ones you want to support from the ones you don't, because as we stated 10 minutes ago, that those distinguishing features are not on a level you can track easily. That's why in my mind I label allied trans people with the Fight Club Space Monkeys moniker. I don't know what to do other than launch you into space, or help you launch yourself into space, and try to make soap out of your ashes. This whole thing feels like wedging yourself into a crawl space. Yes, maybe there's something back here. Yes, you did manage to get back here, but now you can't move, it's dark, you can't see. Shit, now what? And that's where the next component comes in. The oppositional awakened, let's say, trans people. The ones who their souls do track, but they are not your friends. And I've been aware of this for a while, but yeah, a month ago, I got hit with the crystallized form of what I'm talking about. Proper trans people make terrific, powerful mages. However, at least in my experience, on the I work magic and I cultivate spirit scale, they lean decidedly toward I work magic. And I got to witness that in action at what feels like a high level. Analog horror is in right now, or maybe it's starting to fade, but it's had a year or two solid run. Quotes solid run because most analog horror is dog shit. And looking back on it, even the stuff that was good was not that good. It's also very in for creators and people to present themselves with esoteric stick-on tattoos. You know, a really cool mystical logo, or you say abracadabra or some shit, and now you're mystical, and now you can rake in those brownie points. I dislike proper, quotes, magical study because they're all dickheads trying to mislead you, but I really don't like popular mysticism because it's a bunch of dummies dressing up and playing magic. There's something grody going on in there too. Maybe that's more obfuscation. And I'm not claiming to be a proper, again, quotes, mage. My concept of magic would be on the I cultivate spirit side of things, and in the practical or practicing side of things, it's like, or I do it like, Unreal World magic. Unreal World is a survival Finnish, like, Copper Age game. It's really neat. You can get it free off of Sammy's website. You can also buy a version on Steam that's the more updated version, but they all work. Anyway, dunk your fishing rod into the water before you fish, and then you'll catch more fish. Maybe. Except, if you have cultivated spirit, that dumb shit does seem to work more often than it doesn't, but you have nothing to do with working the magic. You cultivate the spirit and give it an opportunity, or give magic an opportunity to channel through it or you. So, while I am interested in magic, it's in spiritualism. It is not on the I do this and get that level. It's on the I work on things and think about things, and then sometimes things happen level. Anyway, through all this vaguely mystical, spooky horror static, I watched a video that's kind of in the analog horror genre, that's an actual evil fucking spell being cast in front of everybody's eyes. I'm not going to link it in the description because it scared me. And I hit the don't recommend on that channel. I scrubbed my watch history. I never want to look at it again. And still, last night actually, I thought about it and it upset me. Enough that I had to fucking turn the lights in my room on for a little while until I calmed down. I don't remember the channel's name. I think the video was called We Support One Another or something like that. It's this little story about the Pilgrims in Squanto and how they buried this Lovecraft horror corpse or bones underneath certain fields, and it made the crops grow better. And this sounds silly. It looks silly. There is nothing to separate this video or this channel from any other vaguely edgy, mystical, and analog horror dog shit, but something about this channel and this video set off alarms on that soul level. And I got hit with this terrible wave of that trans repulsion we were talking about. All I could think, aside from being really scared and uncomfortable when I first watched it, was I don't know how I know or why I know, but I know for a fact something evil is transpiring through this video or using this video, and the queer community is involved. Queer or black magic queer magicians. It's fucked up. So I investigated, and yes, in fact, the person who created this video is trans, and almost certainly working magic using this video. Now, what magic? I don't know. How do you work magic through a video? I don't know. What are you trying to accomplish? I have no idea. But I can feel it. And right now even, I feel silly recounting all this, but those intuition alarms in your head are rarely wrong. Your interpretation of things might be wrong, but those alarms are not. And I think what unnerves me most thinking about all this is the fact working magic, as opposed or as compared to, contrasted against cultivating spirit, working magic is a lot more potent in the short term. I don't know how to work magic, but the people I've crossed paths with who can work magic in that fashion can pull off some weird shit, and I don't understand it at all. Cultivating spirit makes perfect sense to me. It's like I'm playing Warhammer 3 again. There's like this new his name is Golgvag. He's like this Chungus Khan motherfucker. He's an ogre mercenary, and he makes himself available for contracts. He takes them, and instead of painting the map, you are working on other people's behalves to paint maps. That's how I feel with spirit cultivation. When you're cultivating spirit, you are making yourself available for contract work and able to perform that contract work. And as you're doing it, you become supernaturally capable sometimes. But again, you have no say in it. Shit just happens. It makes perfect sense in my head, and in practice, it usually works out pretty well. But working magic, I have no idea. It's unnerving, it's creepy, and seeing such an example of opposed trans magic working makes me uncomfortable, unsettles me. I didn't feel safe. I mean, shit, that was one of the other things we wanted to talk about in a few other videos, or a while ago. I realized recently that I never feel safe. As in, I mean, you should never feel safe, but it's on such a level that I wasn't even aware of how not safe I feel all the time. But, or that contributes to what we're talking about here, because I noticeably didn't feel safe after witnessing this thing taking place. And this all makes me even more concerned about soul magic and its implications. What exactly does a person become capable of once they understand how to navigate or manipulate this soul magic shit? What's being hidden from us? What are we not supposed to know about? And what are people who do already understand this stuff able to manipulate this stuff? What are they doing? I was listening to Terence McKenna the other night, and he said something I hadn't heard him say before. It's an entire little rhyming poem thing explaining psychedelics, but the beginning part is important to me. The demons are of many kinds. Some are made of ions, the other ones of mind. He also said terror is the stamp of validity in regard to psychedelics. Ergo, the more eager someone is to use a substance again, the less likely that substance is going to be anything of substance, which is a good principle to extrapolate, is that the word, into other fields. I also didn't realize McKenna had a little more understanding of magic than I thought he did, which is interesting. I think McKenna should be another saint, but we'll need to think about that for a good long while. Anyway, I think humans play it evil. The most evil things we do are nothing, or are sheet music compared to the depth of evil out there. Few things are as immediately terrifying as feeling the presence of otherworldly evil in your vicinity. That's why things like psychopaths aren't scary, or at least scary on that level. A psychopath is not a predator of humans, they are mentally handicapped people you should be viewing like rabid dogs, not like apex predators. They are retards, is what they are. Actual demons are terrifying. That's one of the reasons I prefer spirit cultivation. Everything I do is by, for, and with my deity, in part because that's what works for me, but also because what are you supposed to do about a demon? You alone, as a puny individual human, can't do anything. We're getting off track, but these are the recent concerns. Bad people of gender are summoning demons. Good people of gender are doing something, but I don't know what. And I really hope I get fabulously wealthy one day so I can go on the road studying all kinds of paranormal phenomena and, I don't know, doing a bunch of stuff. This aberration analyst shit is really cool. The game is really simple, and I think once you figure it out, it's more like a speedrunning logic RNG roguelike puzzle thing than anything else. But the concept is neat and it's like $4 on sale. I want to do that in real life. I want to go on the road and investigate shit. We'll have an informal typology research institute. We'll have an informal paranormal or spiritual phenomena research institute. We'll have a games development studio. It's going to be so great if life turns out that way. We have plenty more to talk about, but we'll save that for another time. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you haven't.